What's up, students? Welcome back to week 3 of our podcast for our At the Movie series. So dive in with Grace, Colin, and me as we are going to be talking about healthy and toxic relationships and rom-coms in this week. Boom. What's up, guys? Welcome back. How are y'all?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. I'm really excited about this week because I like what we're going to be talking about as far as content, but also because my favorite candy on the planet is right in front of me. And I'm really excited about this because we got super special Sour Patch Kids that not even I have tried yet. So would you guys join me in this? Go ahead and grab one of each color. There's a pink, a red, a yellow, and a blue.
Okay, those are 2 different colors.
So now if you can, go ahead and line them up with the lighter pink one there, the blue, the yellow, and then the red. All right? I have the official things. So y'all, if you never tried these before, I didn't realize these were a thing. These are Sour Patch Kid Lemonade Fest. I've never had lemonade flavored Sour Patch Kids. Lemonade. So I think so here's what I think. We just eat the heads off of them and then we can rank them in order.
Specifically that.
Let's go for it. Let's go see what happens.
Okay.
All right, so the first one we got is a light pink one. That is a strawberry lemonade. Ooh. That's pretty good. That tastes exactly like, you know, like Simply? The Simply brand. That tastes like Simply. Yeah.
Yeah.
That tastes really good.
It's not super sour, though.
No.
It's definitely more sweet.
I also have a really big sweet tooth, so I appreciate that, actually. All right, next up is the blue raspberry lemonade.
That one's too sweet.
I feel like that just tastes like the normal blue Sour Patch Kid.
Yeah, I don't think it tastes any different, so for that reason, I'm going to put it below. Regular yellow. This is lemonade flavored.
This is my favorite normal Sour Patch Kid flavor.
Oh, wow. That I don't know about you, but that hit me. That was like, I
love sour candy.
And I don't even know if it's all that sour, but that tastes like lemonade.
Yeah.
But do I like it more than, I kind of like the strawberry one still more.
Yeah.
Personally.
Someone
disagree with me here. Got it?
I just ate the whole yellow one without thinking.
It'll never be on the rank. It'll never be ranked. All right. This is the one I'm really curious about. This is cherry lime lemonade.
Like a cherry limeade from Sonic.
Oh, that's true. I guess I do have them. Or I was like, it might taste like a little bit like a bubbly or like a LaCroix maybe. Let's see.
This is top tier. This one's so good. No, this one's...
This one's number 1.
What?
Yeah.
That might be my least favorite out of all of them. Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going through a cherry limeade phase right now.
Hold
I
on.
keep getting cherry limeade slush.
What did I say that my favorite one was? The strawberry. I'm going to get the strawberry one. And I'm going to get...
I don't like the strawberry one. Okay. I forget.
So this is... I want to make sure these are different. These are definitely the exact same. Okay, this is not good. It's so hard to tell. They are
kind of hard to tell the colors. They're almost exact.
You can definitely tell by the flavors, though. Like, when you eat them, you know the difference. All right, so this is a whole strawberry one. Okay.
I'm ranking mine. I've ranked them.
And this is a cherry. Yeah, give me the strawberry lemonade all day. That's the best one, y'all. That's easily the best one.
Cherry limeade was the best one. That one was good.
Guys, come on. Like, what do you like about it? That's like all that much.
Because it tastes like a cherry limeade from Sonic. I love cherry limeade.
I'm glad we didn't tell you all the flavors ahead of time, but I almost feel like that would have added to the bias here for Grace. Like, if I said, hey, it's a cherry lime lemonade, you're like, forget the other ones. I just want to give me the Sonic Sour Patch Kid. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, these guys are awesome, and again, I highly recommend Sour Patch Kids for any movie candy. But when we're talking about movies here for this week, we're going to be diving in here to the idea of romance movies. So, does anyone have? I feel weird saying this. Does anyone have a favorite rom-com that they like watching? Grace, do you have a good one?
I personally prefer rom-com series.
Oh, okay. Like what?
Because so there's this show called XOXO Kitty, and it's on, I think it's Hulu or Netflix. I don't know. My group and I started the series at 10 a.m. We finished it in a day.
Wait, what?
We finished.
How many seasons?
I think 2.
What? How long are they? Are like the episodes like 30 minutes? Like, tell me.
They're like full 40, 50-minute episodes.
What?
To be fair, we were at the beach. It wasn't super warm. And also, none of them put on sunscreens. They were all burnt to a crisp and didn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
So, but that series, the acting awful, terrible acting, but I ate it all up. It was so good.
Hey,
like,
sometimes though, those are really good
love
movies.
A cheesy rom-com.
Yeah.
They're so funny.
I
love a series.
Yeah, so Hallmark movies have become a thing now that I'm married.
I love Hallmark movies. I'm a Hallmark defender through and through.
Here's my theory, okay? And this is a true theory. Anyone who's seen a Hallmark movie could attest to this, okay? It is the exact same basic basic bone structure.
That's what
they
love.
just do different like settings.
Yep.
They replace what job that the main character does, what city it's in, and then like what activity the main character and the person they're falling for go out and do. Like literally, but besides that, everything is the exact same other than that.
It's probably the same actors too.
It probably is.
But I love Hallmark movies. They're so
oh my word.
I love that they're so predictable because like especially during like the holiday time, like during Christmas, I can be doing something else and have a movie on and still follow what's happening.
Totally. Yeah. It's
I love it so much.
I mean, how about I put it to you like this? They're not in my mind really great movies, but they definitely set the stage for like, oh, it's a holiday season. So like
it's always set in like they go back to their hometown of Evergreen.
See? Thank you.
It's Evergreen.
Hallmark movies are fake, okay? It's the exact same thing over and over again.
Time.
Evergreen, next movie, I'm back in Wintergreen. Oh, next one, I love Wintergreen. It's just the same thing over and over again. Colin, how about you, man?
We're going to have to throw it back to week 1 here. I'm going to have to go with Cars.
Hey, I'm there for that. You know what? I'm there for that. If Cars has just as much like rom-com in it as Barbie Princess whatever has action.
School?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called. I still have to watch it.
Yeah,
Still haven't watched it yet, but we'll get there. We'll get to it. So while we're talking about all these awesome movies that truly are like, I still love that you said Cars. Cars is great. We're going to be talking about the idea of healthy versus toxic relationships today. So, and just to kind of set the stage, I'm curious to hear from you guys. Have you ever dated someone before, or are you currently dating someone? How does that relationship look like? Or even if you're not, when you think of the friendships that you have, would you generally categorize them? English. Got it. It's hard.
English is hard.
Yeah. Would you say that they're healthy friendships, or sometimes you maybe even in the past have had friendships that were more toxic then? So, just kind of set the stage. What's your guys' experience with all that?
So for me, I've been single my entire life, and I love it, honestly, because all my best friends were all single, and we're all best friends, and we all have really healthy relationships. Like, my 3 best friends are Emily, Marissa, and Jamie, and we love it.
Shout out.
We go to the beach together.
Yeah.
We hang out all the time. We FaceTime each other. Like, we are our own relationship, and it's amazing. But I also like have had like friends that are in like committed relationships, and I love like that for them. Like I'm friends with my best friend's boyfriend. Me and Lancey. His name is Lance, but
nice.
His name is Lancey Clancy.
Hey. That's sick. That's a good nickname. That's a really good nickname.
It's a good nickname.
Yeah.
It's a solid one. Yeah. I came up
You
with
came
it
up with it?
myself.
Nice.
Yeah, I did. It was all me.
Cool. Right on. Colin?
So yeah, I'm currently single.
Yeah.
I have been for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to consider this a girlfriend, but I had a girlfriend in 4th grade, as well as
that's
5th
pretty
and 6th
serious,
grade
man.
for
I don't
over a
know.
year. Yeah.
Dude, right on, man. Yeah, obviously I'm married now, but I was definitely one like in high school. I dated people, obviously, and even into college, I dated my now wife. So I mean, that's just a huge part of culture, though, especially when you're in high school. And excuse me, I think we get to see more and more during the season of life, like again, more friends like get more interested into that, or want to just explore like what does that look like for them, where do they kind of fall in that continuum. But regardless if you have dated, you are dating, or you're single, then too, what has been some pieces of relationship advice that you guys have gotten? It's like, hey, like this has been like super stellar advice that has impacted the way that I view my friendships, or even the way that I date people when I'm dating.
Yeah, so mine's a really funny story, actually. So Ashley Dobbs, Our
Shout out
campus
Ashley.
director came over to my house one time to, I think, drop off a meal or something. I don't really remember honestly why, but obviously it's Ashley, so you end up talking to her for like an hour when it's meant to be like a 5-minute conversation.
Yeah.
And my sister and I it was like my whole family, but it was mostly my sister and I were in this conversation, and we sat down. She like literally was sitting on like our front door. We all just sat right in my entryway, and she basically just like gave us the best relationship advice like any of us could ask for, like basically like in all aspects, like, and the big takeaway was like, don't force anything. Like everything happens naturally.
Yeah, sure. Colin?
I think a big thing that I've heard, and I've heard this from a lot of people, is just communication.
Yeah, totally.
You know, having good communication, whether it be with a romantic relationship or friends or anything.
Yeah.
But if you don't have good communication, like, it's not going to work out, and it never does. Like,
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think and it kind of goes maybe in the middle of both of y'all with that too. But I think a huge part of it that sometimes people, I think, sometimes I'm trying to think how to say it. It's like sometimes they'll blow past like this stage of it, but like one of the things that was super helpful for me and my wife Michaela when we were dating was like we became really good friends first. So part of the weirdness of our story was we actually like met going into college, but we met through like this incoming freshman's page. So like the first like little while of us dating was actually like over FaceTime before going into college. And what I actually really appreciate about that, and we both talk about it to this day, is like what we loved about that time was like there was no pressure that we felt other than to just become really great friends with one another and like really get to experience with like, hey, like, are we just even like each other's like friends then too? So that was something like even when I looked back on like the way like I dated in high school, like I wish I would have like, instead of just like wanting to date someone for the sake of saying like, hey, I wanted to date, I like, dude, I want to get to know this person. Like, are we even like compatible as friends before like it was like, oh, we're going to be like, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend or whatever then too. So kind of along that same line too. And I think you guys were kind of mentioning it a little bit. What are your top 3 things that you would say make a relationship healthy? And then maybe or maybe in turn, what are the top 3 things that makes a relationship unhealthy then?
I think what makes it healthy is communication.
Yeah.
I think also having like a pre-established friendship where you have similar interests, because I mean, opposites sometimes do attract, but 9 times out of 10, people with like similar personalities tend to be like closer friends or like relationships with each other. And I feel like you actually just like enjoy being around the person.
Totally. Yeah.
And I guess stuff that makes it unhealthy is when it starts for the wrong reasons. Like, for instance, I've seen friendship or relationships where like in my friends that they've started dating just because the one, like the girl or the guy didn't feel comfortable being single or something.
Yeah.
And so they just dated for the sake of that.
Yeah.
Or they just like felt like they should. Like I know one of my friends got like a really bad like breakup because they both just felt like they should date it because they've been talking to each other for so long.
Yeah.
And I guess like when you just like force a relationship, I feel like that's like kind of the overarching thing.
Yeah, totally. Anything else you throw into that, Colin?
Definitely communication, like Grace said. And I also feel like just making sure that you're compatible for each other. Like you can have fun sometimes and stuff, but like I feel like if it starts to become like awkward or like you realize that you really don't have as much in common or as many interests as you thought you did, like you'll sort of run out of things to do and like realize that, oh, well, maybe this isn't what I want because, like, what is there to do? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and again, kind of even as we talk about this in movies, like whether it's a super cheesy Hallmark movie or like just other, like, you know, and truly, I think what's interesting now too is like it isn't just like in rom-coms, right? We can see relationships, healthy and toxic, play out like in other, genres than too, but like kind of overarchingly for movies. Where have y'all seen some of those like really great moments hit, but also maybe like, how do you feel like movies sometimes portray like relationships in a way that like people gravitate towards that isn't always the healthiest? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like I'm thinking of like, a lot of like Disney, like really old Disney movies, like Disney princess movies specifically. Like I feel like the relationship like literally makes no sense. Like it'll be like a 30-year-old guy and like a 14-year-old girl.
Well, that's fair.
Just,
yeah.
Like
general relationship advice. Don't do that.
Don't do that. And then you'll have a song written about you for Taylor Swift if that happens, Dear John. Sorry, I had to throw it in there.
Yeah, that was fair.
Thank you.
That was a softball. Good job.
Thank you. But yeah, I feel like a lot of movies that came out a while ago, like especially like Disney movies, like I feel like concepts of relationships in young children is sometimes altered because of that. Like, I'm sorry, honey, you're not gonna become a mermaid and then you're gonna like come like off a rock and then you get legs from a sea witch and then you fall in love. That's probably not gonna happen.
But like even with that too, right? It's kind of like this moment of like, oh my word, like everything just naturally falls into place.
I was like,
and
no, like it requires work on both ends.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Because that's the other thing too. Is like, I think even like when you're in high school and you're seeing, it's like, oh, like everything should just be like the happy, sunshine, like that, like excited feeling that you get when you start dating someone or whatever, or even when you start a new friendship with someone, like, oh yes, everything's great and awesome, right? Yeah. But like you're even talking about like the girls you're super close with, Grace, like I'm sure you guys have had like hard moments with each other too, where like y'all didn't like each other very much.
So really funny story. Me and my best friend Jamie used to absolutely hate each other's gut. Like there was a rule in like our, like we called it like our life or our group commandments, that Jamie and I were not allowed to sit next to each other because we would generally end up in a fight.
Oh wow, is that bad?
Oh, we would genuinely end up in a fight. But now we're like best friends, and literally like she'll probably FaceTime me after like we're done. Like she FaceTimed me during graduation. Like she's always calling. Like we're always talking to each other.
Yeah. Colin, any other thoughts with that, man? Any thoughts you're kicking around with that?
Something I've seen in a lot of movies is like everything just happens so fast.
Yeah.
Like they meet someone and then like 6 months later they get married and they live happily ever after. But that is like not realistic at all. Like you need time to get to know somebody and like work out the things that aren't necessarily perfect from the start.
And granted, like, and not to throw shade on anyone who that's literally happened to, it's an anomaly. And I know, and I've heard of people and I know people who like, that's like something in that vein has happened. And it's like, they have awesome lives and relationships and that's great. But yeah, I think kind of what we're hitting at too is like a lot of it takes like a lot of work on both ends, and like just a general understanding that like I think a lot of times media in general, but for the sake of the conversation, we'll stick with movies. I think just in general, movies portray very much a Hollywood version of like what relationships look like. That I don't know, like maybe I'll pose this question up here. Do you guys feel like that affects like the way that, or how have you seen that affect the way that like while you guys are in high school, people like view relationships, whether it's, a rom-com movie or like even like a Netflix series, the way that they portray relationships and friendships or whatever, like how's that played out? Like, have you guys seen that played out in high school?
Yeah, like again, thinking back to some of my friends, like they just felt like they had to be in a relationship based off of like, because almost like a lot of main characters in movies or in like series are like always like either in like a love triangle or like in a relationship or like something like that. So I don't know. I feel like they just felt like they had to be in one.
Sure. Yeah.
Like it's just like a forcing of any relationship, whether like what kind of be.
Yeah.
I think this kind of goes along with what Grace is saying, but I think a lot of people overlook the bad parts of their relationship just because they focus on the good parts and like they want to be seen as having that good relationship, even though like in reality it's not good or like can be going bad at times. Like I've seen people in high school, like their boyfriend or girlfriend is literally hanging out with other girls or guys like all the time.
Yeah.
But they still stay in the relationship because they want to be in that relationship. And I don't think that that's a very good idea at all.
Yeah, that doesn't set you up well for like long-term success in the end. Yeah, totally. Because I think a lot of times it like kind of even to what you were saying there, Colin, like it's almost like this like Instagram filter of a relationship where like, oh, these are the awesome things we're doing. Or like, again, whether it's friendships or whether it's a dating relationship, like truly it's, you are experiencing or I should say you want others to experience all the highlights of all of it to like affirm the fact that it's really like healthy or whatever. Yeah. But in reality, it's like, like, dude, like if you're spending more time with like other people, like not to say that you don't have friends, but like if you're hanging out with like other people's like, significant others or like whatever, then too, it's like, is it actually like what are you like actually I would question how committed you are to like developing that friendship and relationship with the other person then too. But also what's cool too is like the Bible talks a whole bunch about this idea of relationships, like in a multitude of ways. But one of the things I was curious about, especially when we think about movies, is the idea of guarding your heart, right? Proverbs 4 talks about it, that we should just guard our heart from the things that we allow into it and stuff. And this kind of goes into the last question too, but off of that idea, where have y'all seen your faith be a filter for things that, like, when it comes to relationships and the people that, like, you guys let in or whatever? Where have you seen that, like, be like a filter for you in those relationships, again, whether dating or not? And then also too, where do you often see people kind of let those filters down? Again, whether it's a friendship relationship or a dating relationship then.
Yeah, so I think for me, like, I can think of some, like, a toxic friendship I had for, like, middle school going into high school.
Yeah.
And it was just the fact that, like, said person was just talking bad about me the entire time, like, but was trying to, like, be my best friend. Like, we would hang out all the time, but then I found out that, like, this person was actually, like, terrible and awful.
Yeah.
That was really hard because I feel like it, like, almost put my guard up more, but in a negative way.
Sure.
That I didn't want to be friends with anyone or let anybody in because I was scared that this person that I let into my life, like, destroyed and, like, was not nice to me at all and was not a positive person. But I think now I know that just because one person destroyed, like, my perception of, like, having my guard doesn't mean that I can't let anybody in.
Sure.
But also it makes me more aware of that, hey, you actually have to be, like, have a deeper perception of somebody and, like, listen to your other friends when they're trying to tell you something, like, toxic about person you're dating or person you're friends with, because you can only see it from your perspective. Whereas, like, sometimes, like, majority of the time, the outside perspective is sometimes the correct one. Yeah. Majority of the time, like, especially in a toxic setting. Yeah.
But, and even then too, like, how, like, where would you say, like, like, your faith plays a part in that then too, right? Because, like, I think, because I totally hear you in that too, but even I'm thinking through too, like, man, like, I'm also wanting to make sure too that, like, if I'm surrounded, we should always be drawing close to people who aren't, close to Jesus. That's part of, what Jesus has commanded us to do, and, like, is challenging us to do, to continue just to reach more people for him. But also it's a huge part too, especially when we think about, like, who are our closest friends? Who are we going to date and, eventually marry one day? Really, the Bible talks a whole lot about too, like, that needs to be someone who's, like really chasing after Jesus alongside of you in that then too, right? So, where have you guys seen some of that play out then as well?
Yeah, again, like, my best friends, majority of them I met at HSM
or
in student ministry.
Sure.
And also, like, I'm best friends with my leaders, and also, like, other people that are within the church or even, like, outside of it, like, from school that also, like, are Christian or something. Yeah. But having those relationships that, especially, I value their opinion more than anybody, like, outside of it, because I know they have both my best interest at heart, but also are looking at it through, like, a godly lens.
Totally. Colin, how about for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen in my life, like, I just want to make sure that my morals are, like, respected, and I make sure that, like, whoever I end up, like, dating, or even my closest friends, like, have similar, or if not the same, morals. Yeah. And so, like, having my faith and, like, the morals that go along with it have really helped me to, like, filter out, like, who I might want close in my life and who I might not, because they won't, like, bring me closer to God within it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was to say, when we see a lot of those relationships play out in film or, Netflix series or whatever, like, I think a lot of them can sometimes relate around, like, hey, like, if you are dating, that means that, like, you need to get, more emotionally attached quicker, more physically attached quicker, whatever within that realm. And it's like, sometimes, like, or even, like, the way how that affects you as a person, right? If, like, the more you get to know them, you realize, hey, like, some of the language that they use, some of the things that I'm feeling like pressure to do, like, isn't, like, honoring to God, like you said, with those morals there. Like, hey, that's a big red flag, and that's kind of a bigger conversation. But I think kind of what y'all were saying then too is, like, I think sometimes people will overlook that so they can say, hey, I'm in a dating relationship, right? Yeah. And, like, the attention and the stuff that comes along with that, or whatever, is something that they're afraid to, I guess, let go of, maybe be the best way to say it. But so let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about singleness for a second, right? where do you guys, as two people who are currently single, do you feel like singleness gets a bad rap? Because again, we're talking about like there's that pressure sometimes to feel like it's in a relationship or to be in a relationship then. How do you see singleness like benefiting you guys in your walks with Jesus and also just like in your lives in general then? Like how have you made this that season like what it is then?
Yeah, I think for me, it's given me more opportunities because I'm able to focus on myself a lot. Like I was able to grow personally a ton with being single throughout all of high school.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't have grown as much if I was in a relationship because I had a lot of stuff that I needed to learn about myself.
Sure.
But yet it's also given me amazing friends throughout that that are all on like similar paths of life with me.
Totally.
So I feel like that's probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's definitely given me time to like grow into my relationship with Jesus and God before anyone else. And like, you know, like if you have a girlfriend or a significant other that has those same morals and wants to grow in their faith with you, like they can help you, but it's a different element. Like,
sure.
You need to grow in your faith by yourself first before you can grow with somebody else.
Yeah.
And so definitely I look at it as just a good time to, you know, make my relationship the best it can be with God before I try and do that with someone else.
Yeah. And obviously I'm coming from all this with like a little bit of a different perspective now that I am married. But what's interesting is I'll use him as an example. So my brother recently, like a couple years back, was single and was really kind of doing a lot in his life around like figuring out like what that really meant for him. And what something that was really cool was he ended up doing like this missions trip that he did single. Because again, he had the time and like he didn't have the commitment of like, not that a dating relationship would keep him from that, but like it was one that's like there was just other conversations, right? Every layer of relationship that you built into that, there's like extra layers of conversation of like, oh, I want to talk about it with this person, see what they think about it. Like not just my family or just what I'm doing or whatever. So he ends up going on this thing. And what's cool now is he actually just got back from his second time there. He went to, I'm going to forget what it's called now. He went to, what's this city? What's that? Thank you, Costa Rica. Ben knows. And he went to Costa Rica. And what's so cool about it, he actually now is engaged and actually brought his fiance with him on that second mission trip. But again, this is a whole like experience in his life that he would have never have had if he didn't like use that time of singleness for that. You know what I mean? And it's super cool because like I'm like, hey, like that's super awesome. If I was, you know, back in that position where I was like, man, if I was single back when I was like closing out high school, about to go into college, and like I would have had time to do something like that, and God could have used my life in a cool way like that too. So I think it's an interesting thing to talk about because, like again, we feel that pressure, or we see that pressure around us of like, oh, let's get into those relationships, but truly like. You don't have to be in a dating relationship for God to use your life in a really incredible way. You guys are jumping in and serving in Collide. That's awesome, right? You guys have the ability to, you know, do what you're doing, what you're going to end up doing at College Grace, or what you're going to end up doing in your senior year there too, Colin, right? And like see how God uses that, again, in really cool ways than too. So kind of closing out here, how do we let Jesus ultimately have that authority in those friendships, in those relationships that we have, whether they're dating or not? How do we allow him to like have that ultimate authority as we navigate through those relationships that we have in our lives?
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's a loaded question. I feel like kind of going back to it, recognizing the godly relationships that are already in your life, because obviously Jesus is working through them, through you. So relying on them, but also relying on your relationship with God and still staying strong in your faith, if not stronger during that time.
Totally.
So that God can help be like your compass and like your moral code throughout that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think just like praying about it and giving it time, like praying that God and Jesus bring the right person into your life, and then giving it time and not trying to rush into anything or like see something that maybe is not what's meant for you, but just, you know, trusting that they know what's right and they knew who's going to be best for you, and then waiting for that to come up.
Yeah. Because ultimately too, like life, there's so many things, especially in this season of life, in high school. It's like, there's so many things that are so much truly like bigger than just like dating someone for the sake of dating someone, right? Like, so I think that's going to be really cool to see how more and more students hear this conversation and how they're going to be able to respond to that too. But also for next week too, as we start talking about our last movie theme too, I think it's going to cross over really, really well. So we'll see you guys then. All right, cool. See y'all there.